man. Welcome to Contractor USA, bro. I'm excited you're here. Excited you came through our program. I always love to say Tim, the tool man, but you are not Tim. You're Taylor, but that's how I remember it. So welcome, man. How did you get started in construction?
Right on, man. Thanks for having me, man. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome.
So I got my start in the construction industry when I was early 20s.
Okay.
At 18, I was working at a butcher shop and working with my hands. Started from dishwasher, worked my way up to selling meat, then cutting meat. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like,
Wait. You know how to butcher?
Yes.
Like how much? Like if I got a cow, you could butcher that thing almost?
Yeah, if I had the right equipment, I could do it. If you brought me wild game, I could do it.
Man, we need hunting. Sorry, I had to interrupt there. I was like, I didn't know that. That's a cool skill.
Thing right there we could dive into.
Oh, man, I love it. Okay, sorry. Go ahead. Go for it.
No, you're good. So doing that, I was like, this is kind of cool. I like doing this. But once I wanted to pursue that a little further, I realized, the big markets, the Safeways, the Albertsons, they have undercut the butcher market. So they're like, but you're only going to make $45,000 a year, $50,000 a year. And I was like, that ain't going to survive in California.
Yeah.
That's cute,
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I need to look elsewhere.
Yeah.
And while I was doing that, a buddy of mine that I was working with, who was my boss, he was like, hey, my brother is an electrician.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of cool, because I was looking into solar, because I was just thinking, what's the future? What's going to be like the future of the world, like what's always going to be around? And that was renewables.
Definitely.
Because this is back in 2015, 2014.
So wait a minute. So how old were you when you were thinking about that?
21, 22 years old.
Bro, you were on the edge, man. You were like, renewables. I mean, that's it, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I was like, what's something that's not going to change? Because when I got into like the butchers, I was like, oh, it's too late. Like this market doesn't exist unless you want to work for a big box store.
Yeah.
So then when I looked into that, we had actually found this like kind of quick 6-month crash course on electrical.
Okay.
From this retired electrician who started this school. And it was basically like, it's one of those revolving courses. You just kind of show up at any point, doesn't matter. And in 6 months, you're going to be back to where you started.
Nice.
Real quick, like, hey, black is hot, white is neutral, so on and so forth. But that was a really good program. Like between the owner and the teacher, like the owner worked with you on price. He understood people were going to be coming from not necessarily a rich background.
Yeah.
So he was like, look, dude, the price is a little steep for 6 months. I understand it. But like, if you want to be here, I'll work with you. Like, even if we got to take care of the payment after you get a job and you're working full time, like we can set that up.
That's great.
So that was super cool. And he took care of me on that one a little bit.
Yeah.
And then after a month, 3 weeks, he was like, hey, give this guy a call and go get a job. And I was like, what? Dude, I don't even know what's happening in class.
It's just happening for you, huh?
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, dude, I'm scared when we go out into the lab. Like, what do you mean go get a job? I don't know what to do. And then I called this guy. He's like, hey, he's very type A personality. Like, you'll love him.
Okay.
And I was like, all right. And he had a really good reputation. That was Tuck Knot Electric up in Livermore.
Okay. Hey, my hometown, man.
Yeah.
Springtown.
Shout out to Bob Tuck Knot.
Woo, there you go.
That guy, and he really gave me a chance.
Yeah.
And that was a small outfit. It was 3 other guys. Yeah. And they were like, you know how to do the basics? And I was like, basics. Like, I'm as green as possible.
Yeah.
But they really like helped cater me and be like, okay, do what you're comfortable doing. And if you're not comfortable, like, let us know.
Wow.
And from there, I was able to mold myself and to be like, okay, I want to learn that. So let me watch him. Let me learn from him.
Nice.
And then after 6 months of being there, I had a little project at the Livermore airport that they were like, hey, can you handle this? And I was like, yep. And I was there not by myself. I had someone help me, like a helper, but he wasn't an electrician. And I basically had a set of plans and a room. And I was able to do the whole thing, all the lighting, all the power, all the low voltage stuff. And awesome. They were really impressed. Like, dude, there's a lot of stuff going on with your mom health-wise, and you're able to manage this and that. Like, so they gave me like a $4 raise.
Wow.
And at the time, I went from like 16 to 20, and I was like, whoo.
Yeah.
We're making money.
Yeah. And that was what, in the like
2016, 2017.
Okay, so that was good money.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was only used to making minimum wage. So I was like, cool, sweet. I just got a Mustang. We're good to go.
Nice.
And then from there, I moved to Southern California.
Okay.
And when I had moved, I didn't know any contractors down
Yeah.
Southern California, you know? So I'd hit up the owner of that school. I was like, hey, who do you know in Southern California that I can go interview with?
Okay.
He told me to go to Helix. So I went to Helix, got a job. They were like, oh, what about, we taggled on price, but eventually they gave me a shot. Mm-hmm. Put in about 3-4 years there. Then went to another smaller outfit. But Helix, when I was at Helix, they got me in the apprenticeship program. And that was huge for me.
Yeah.
My superintendent that I was working under was like, dude, you're like apprentice and ET down here, they're different.
Yeah.
And right now you're in the ET side, but you're worth the apprenticeship. Like your skill set and like how your willingness to grow and want to learn, like that's valuable.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know, dude. I don't know if it's worth it. Like, do I really want to go to school? Like, I'm good. Like, money's cool. And he's like, and I was like, all right. I trust you. I'll take the bait.
There you go.
So then he set the wheels in motion, got in with the 5-year apprenticeship program,
Nice.
WICA, and that was fantastic.
Wow.
Because the state now, because of the unions, you have to go through a state certified apprenticeship program. Okay, so either WICA or ABC. Both programs great. WICA was just the one that's the one Helix sent me through, so that was my choice. Then journeyed out from that.
Wow. So you did 4 years in your journeyman training.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep. Journeyed out from that, graduated a whole 9 yards, and then then that's when I came through your program.
So how'd you find us, by the way?
So my buddy Daniel, who I was working with, who also went through your program, On Demand Electric.
Okay.
He actually found me, hit me up. He said, hey, I found this contractor school. Like, we should go check it out. And I was like, cool, when's class? He goes, tonight. And I think it was a Wednesday or Thursday.
Oh, yeah. And
I was like, when does it start? He's like, in like an hour. And I was like, dude, it's an hour and 10 minutes for me to get there from Irvine.
Man.
I booked it.
Yeah.
And then we showed up, paid the dues to get in. And we were just like, we're just going to go for it.
Just go for it.
And then we showed up. We sat in the front every time, and then a lot of, like, you could tell people in class, like, there's a difference between some people, right? There's the people that are really like, hey, my eggs are in this basket. I'm all in, and the other people that are kind of like taking a step back, like, I'm going to see where it goes. And for me, I was like, I'm all in.
You know, something I noticed about you, since we've known each other now for almost half a year, close to it. You went through the program, got your license. And you allow people to give opportunity, and then if the opportunity presents itself, you're like, yeah, that's a direction I want to go, so let's just do it. And you have a positive attitude. You're always like super like upbeat. A lot of people aren't, man. They come in, they're like depressed, walking in or whatever, and they're just like, oh, I'm here, this is so hard. And you're just like, okay, like every day, what does every day have for me? You know what I mean? And it seems like so many opportunities came your way. And then you got your license. And by the way, because we didn't tell anybody, TJS Electric, right?
Yep.
So we want to make sure we throw that out there. Okay, continue on. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. So yeah, it's like coming through your program, like it was worth, like you could not put a price tag on that course.
Awesome.
Just because it solidified everything I was thinking.
Yeah.
And just put it out in front of me. It took it from what I was thinking, and I was able to visualize it from someone else's perspective.
Awesome.
From like you teaching it. I was like, this is the pathway.
Yeah.
Like I could go try to do it on my own, and I would get lost. I mean, most people would, because that's how the state articulates it. They want it to be tricky, right? But your program just like, here's all the doors and here's the keys. Go through the doors if you want. Like, it's up to you at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah.
But worth its weight in gold.
That's awesome. And we went deeper too, because, you know, we talk about connecting you with a whole bunch of entrepreneurs, which we build that community, right? In fact, just touch on that, because you jumped into the community. We went to a thing last night. What was that, and what did we do?
Okay. Yeah, so like we went to the IE Mastermind over in Rancho Cucamonga, which for those who don't know, it's kind of like an entrepreneurial CEO, business owner kind of group. So you get with like-minded individuals.
Yep.
You can bounce ideas off people. If you have a business and you're kind of struggling with something, throw it out there. Just let it go out into the world and the universe, and let everyone else in that room. There could be 15 people. I had that same problem, you know, and you take what their fix for them, and you can mold it to what fits your need. Yeah. And from there, you can solve your issues, you know, and you collaborate with people. Hey, let's go get coffee. Let's get dinner. Let's get lunch. and who knows where that takes you.
And what I love about that community is because the people that get into communities tend to end up being the richest people in America because they're partnering with people. Oh, you got this project, I could do that, or I need this and I need that. And they start working together and they level each other up, just like you were talking about with all the powerful speakers we're bringing in. Yeah. You had a great one last night. Just massive.
He's talking about himself, by the way.
Oh, man. But yeah, so I've seen you just jump into everything. Like, here I am, boom. And then, so you got your license, started your business. And then what was that like now that you had your own license?
So once I basically finished the whole application process and it was like paid all the dues and all the fees and all that stuff. And it was like, all right, I'm just waiting. I passed all the tests.
Yeah.
That's when I had put in my 2-week notice at my employer. And I was like, I'm doing it.
Going all in.
Yeah. And all my coworkers at the time were like, dude, you really going to do it? And I was like, dude, if I don't do it now,
yeah,
it's going to be 10 years is going to go by. And I'll be like, oh, well, there goes 10 years I'm not getting back.
I love that.
So when I put in my 2-week, they were taken back, and I get it. But when I did it, I was like, if I do it now, I can I'm gonna have about a month or so before I get the license. Yeah. This is gonna give me time to reset. It's right around the holidays. Yeah. Just lost my dad. I was like, I can take some time and just collect myself and prepare myself for what's about to happen. Luckily, I was in a financial position that I could do that. Now, if I was struggling financially, probably wouldn't have done that.
Gotcha.
I probably would have just steamrolled right into the next thing.
Yeah.
But like for me, I really needed that month to just be like, I'm not doing anything. Like, phone's off. I'm just gonna catch my breath. Awesome. Like, smell the roses.
Yeah, take a moment.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. It's interesting because you went through that loss of losing your dad, and we both know how that is. So anybody listening, we feel your pain. That's a rough thing. But I noticed something you said there. You said you gave your 2 weeks notice, and you're just jumping in. I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs I've met with entrepreneurs all over America, even in different countries. And the biggest thing that they complain about is they wish they would have taken the chance when they were younger. And you're already changing that. I mean, you're young, and you're just like, I'm quitting this job. I'm jumping into this. I got my license. I'm going to just make it happen. And that's what most entrepreneurs wish they would have done. So you're on the right track, man. That is so amazing. So now you have your own license. How did you get your first job?
So what I realized years ago is that being an employee, I could be comfortable, but I'm still kind of, I don't have free liberty. Like, I don't have freedoms. I can't do what I want. Yeah. I'm limited. Yeah. And for me, who's someone who struggles when they're kind of tied down, I struggle with that a little bit. So for me, I was like, I don't know what 15 years looks like, 20 years from now, who knows?
Yeah.
And that made me uneasy and uncomfortable. So I always kind of like, okay, there's going to be a point in my, where I plateau in this industry. Yeah. Because that's everything I've ever done. I've always hit a plateau point. Okay. And then I'm like, what's the next thing? I'm done here. I've served my time. I've reached my max level. Yeah. I need to keep going. Otherwise, I'll be the old guy on the lawn, get off my lawn, and be mad at the world. Yeah. So I realized that once I journeyed out and went through all that, I was like, okay, it's time. I could, let me be a superintendent. Let me be a general foreman. Let me be a VP. Yeah. I didn't want to waste my time with that and then be 55 and like, I should have started my own business. Yeah. Like, I would have had more freedom. And I was like, if I do it now, the worst thing that happens is I go back to being an employee and I go back to being comfortable.
Yeah.
Versus like, hey, let's take a little bit of risk.
Yeah.
A little bit of fun.
Yeah.
And see what happens. Let's just roll the dice and see what happens.
Not married yet, no kids, so not a whole lot to risk there. And, you have the opportunity to jump.
Top ramen one night, it's okay,
Yeah. Man, I can't emphasize enough that when people are young to go for it. You guys have so much more opportunity. I have a family, I have kids, and anytime I risk, I have a lot to risk because if I lose that, we could all be homeless, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank God my kids are all out of the house now, so just me and my wife, and we started a company over in Hawaii. She's running right now. But I want to touch on something because you talked about plateauing. People do plateau, and they plateau in their business. And so I saw your wheels turning when I was teaching last night. So I'm gonna remind you of a phrase and tell me what you were thinking when I said the highest level of entrepreneurship is not working in the business, it's working on the business. So tell me what you thought about that, because I saw you kind of thinking there.
Yeah. So when you said that, I was like, that's the exact point that I'm striving to get at right now. Because obviously, small outfit, just me right now.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of partnerships that are coming down the pipe that I've built over my 7-8 years of being in the trade. So once those like start rolling, then it's like, cool, now I've got a couple employees and we start growing. And at that point, that's when it's like, all right, I can shift from being working in the business to working on the business.
That's great.
Because I see where my 5, 10, 15-year plan is. And I've seen working for different contractors, big, small, medium size.
Yeah.
I've seen all the things they did right and all the things that they were reluctant to do. And if they did this one thing different, here's another golden egg they'd have. If they wanted to do this, they'd have this. I love it. And it's, hey, like you work for somebody, you put in like, hey, a recommendation, and they just, go back to work.
You know what I like about that is, because when you get situated like that, even though you're already doing it now, you're just going to be investing with me in apartments all over America. It's going to be great. And houses and stuff like that. Boom, we're just going to go big.
And retirement's taken care of, so I don't have to worry about that. I can truly focus on my baby, which is the business.
That's good.
And building a community within that, because the way I want to structure it is a little different. It's going to change the construction industry a little bit.
Do you want to reveal that secret?
Not yet, because things aren't like set in stone with that. Yeah, I'm still working on that.
So we'll hold that, and once you get that launched the way you want to go, you'll be back on, brother.
Oh yeah.
So let me ask you this, because I asked you last night at the end of our event. I said, hey, I want you to think about 2 questions. I think these are vital for every contractor, actually any business that's listening. And that's, what is your blue ocean effect? In other words, what makes you distinct among other electricians or electrical companies? And then the second one is, well, let's answer that one, and I'll do the second one. So what were you thinking about that?
So I really like that. What is my blue ocean question? That one really struck a chord with me last night. That was the first question that I was like, all right, let me think about this one right now. And for me, it was actually off of something that you had mentioned, which was get involved with your local chamber of commerces. Right? So I told you yesterday, in the morning, I had emailed my local chamber of commerce over in Irvine, and I was like, hey, new contractor in the area, just want to touch base, like, can we get together? They're like, yeah, come by at 9. We got orientation. I was like, oh, just luck of the draw, I guess.
Wow.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
That's awesome.
So I went there and met a bunch of people, handed out. I had 50 business cards with me, and by the time they opened it up for networking, within 15 minutes I was out. And I kid you not, I took the one table in the back that was standing, because I was like, I'm just going to kind of observe. And when they opened it up, I have never seen people flock to one table. And I'm not tooting my own horn here. But we went around the room. Everyone introduced themselves and their business, what they do. And the amount of people that snapped their heads when I said electrical contractor. And when they opened it up for networking, like I said, 15 people immediately darted to my table. And I was like, this is literal metal shavings to a magnet. I was like,
man,
what is happening? I'm like, and they're like, we don't have an electrical contractor. We have like one general contractor, a plumber. Like, no one, we don't have an electrical contractor. And
very smart of that guy who told you to go to the Chamber of Commerce.
So like, if there's one thing that I can say to other contractors that are watching this, if you haven't already, reach out to your local Chamber of Commerce. It is a gold mine. And there's none of us are in there. So we really need to get in there, because it's better for the community. You know, we really want to build up like your town. You want to build that up. You want to be a part of that.
You know, it's interesting, because I was talking to an individual who started a business in an area, and I said, bro, you don't live in that area, but you started it there. And I asked him, are you even getting involved in that community? And so he said, well, no, I haven't. I go, so you're not involved in it. How do you expect them to trade with you? And so you jumped into your community where you're from, and now you're part of that chamber, and that's your community. And as you put into your community, you're going to be able to withdraw from that community, which gives what you can take. And so people are going to pour into you. And just like they said, you know, hey, we don't have an electrician here. And one of the things I noticed man, you are just nailing things on the head. Contractors are usually so busy. They don't go to Chamber of Commerce's. They don't go to entrepreneur meetings, and they're all over. They don't go to these business meetings throughout the community, and they're missing out on so much because there's like this divide because they're so busy. They don't go to these. And then these guys, they all need their homes remodeled. They all need their commercial buildings remodeled. They all need their warehouses built because sometimes there's people that are doing hundreds of millions in there down to just a few $100,000. And when contractors don't go to those, they're missing out. That's why I love you're a part of IE Mastermind with all these multimillionaires in there. The Chamber of Commerce, where businesses come and collide from all over your community. That's golden. What you just said is golden for these guys.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not taking advantage of already, whether it's Chamber of Commerce, Rotary clubs, finding other nonprofits to be a part of, like find a nonprofit event you can sponsor. Throw down a couple $1,000, get your logo out there. Help out an event. And that's one thing that really struck a chord with me yesterday at the Chamber of Commerce is the different events that they had where sponsorship opportunities and all this other stuff. And that's even Irvine, like they'll do ribbon cutting for your business. So I was like, okay, when I get a commercial real estate spot, hey, I need a ribbon cutting event over at my office.
There you go.
And I'm like, okay, cool. That's down the road, but that seed's been planted, so we're good. Put that iron on the back burner.
Absolutely. No, that's good. Okay, so your blue ocean effect is in part, it's jumping into the Chamber of Commerce, getting involved in the community, getting involved in with other entrepreneurs and people that are leveling you up, because we don't know what we don't know, right?
Correct.
I'm a big believer in we got to have people ahead of us pulling us forward, and we got to have people that we're also pulling with us, bringing them in. And because you were telling me that you've been bugging this gentleman who got you to get your contractor's license. Dude, you got to get over here into this meeting, right?
Yep.
And he didn't make it, but you're like bugging him, and you're having these conversations of the things you've been learning. And what is he saying about that?
Yeah, he's like, oh, okay, all right, I see it. And it's like, I know, like you hear me saying it, but I don't want you to think I'm just blowing smoke.
Yeah.
Like come see what I'm saying, because I'm just regurgitating what I'm hearing. Yeah. Like come learn for yourself, and you might pick something up that I missed.
Yep.
You know, and you'll be able to teach me something.
Yep. And then you guys are there together because you're pals, and you guys are able to keep each other accountable moving forward in the goals that you set. Really, that's a lot about what entrepreneurs, when they get together, it's about being with people who you're able to tell them your vision, your plan, if you have it. If not, we go architect that. And then they kind of keep you accountable. Hey, how's that plan going? You were going to do this, and how's that going? So that's one of your blue ocean effect. Now, think about this. When it comes to your client, now that's going to help you build and get clients. But when you go into a property to work on it, and that client is there, off the top of your head, do you have anything that you would think the client would see you and go, oh, I really like this contractor over these guys because of?
The honesty.
Honesty, okay.
And the integrity.
Honesty's good. Integrity.
Because if there's not an issue, or if they want something a certain way because that's all they know, like I'm going to show them all their options. Like, hey, if you want, here's the best option for your value, for dollar value. Here's your best like performance value. That's instead of just being like, oh, here, like most contractors, here's the only one because it's the expensive way, you know. Being like, hey, that we don't have to do that. If you want, cool. Or if you want this one, cool. It's your building, it's your property. You just tell me what one you want, and we'll make your dreams happen. That's
awesome. I like that. Now, a lot of contractors do say honesty, so I'm going to tie in something that I see. Now, I asked you this question, but I'm going to answer it first and then let you answer it second. And my thing was, what is your superpower? What is it that makes you different than others, or what is it that you offer to the world that maybe others don't have? Everybody has like something they're really great at, that superpower. And I noticed that when you're always happy, you're always positive, you're always upbeat. And you know what people don't realize is that is super attractional, not in a weird way, but people want positivity around them. The world is filled with massive negativity. And when you walk into a room, it's not like, I don't know, or, you know, this is, oh, well, you know, and they start talking about the negative things. Contractors go in, oh, yeah, there's a lot of problems here, you know, because they're setting the mindset of that person. Yeah, it's very negative, bad problems. We're going to go ahead and we're going to come together with a price that's going to take care of it. But you're more like, yeah, we got this. We could do this. And that positivity is actually powerful because it inundates a room. So that was my perspective of knowing you over this time. And I don't know if you were thinking in that vein. What you think, whether it's a skill, talent, ability, personality, what is your superpower?
So this one I was thinking about this morning, and I was like, all right, let me think about this. I've never thought about this type of question before, at least worded this way. But upon thinking about it and just taking everything that I've been through in life to get to this point where I'm at, I mean, granted, I'm only 29 years old. And I'm still a baby. My superpower, I'd have to go with invincibility. Because for me, like, no matter what the task is, it does not matter how much chaos and outside noise there is. The task is going to get done. And no matter how hectic or how dire things are happening around me, based on just my childhood, like growing up life, anything that I've set my mind to take care of, it's gotten done. So for me, invincibility, just because whatever's to this point, I've been able to handle it. And I don't like, I've handled some pretty dire situations and we were able to get through it. So I'm like, and that was at 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. I'm like, I'm only getting older and more knowledgeable and more intelligent as I grow.
That's good.
So it's only going to become easier no matter, and I mean, granted, the challenges are going to get bigger, but it's not something we can't navigate.
No, that's wonderful. Man, that's great because you're a rock. You know what I mean? I think your invincibility stems from that you see, even in the midst of chaos, that you can do it. And that can do it comes from that positive attitude. You know, last night we talked about that 78% of everybody's thoughts are negative, and every thought we have today, 93% of those are a regurgitation of yesterday's thoughts. So we're sitting in this like cesspool of chaos. And so when people learn to break free from that negativity and they have a positive outlook on life, whatever the universe brings me, man, I'm going to jump on that. I'm going to take that for all it's worth. If I hit a plateau, I'll pivot. I'll create something else. And, you know, and it seems like it's worked out really well for you because from when you were young and someone pulled you into a journeyman and then into a class, or maybe not in that exact order, but into an electric class. And then now you're licensed and now jobs are coming your way and you're in these group of people who are just like, boom, you know, they're flocking to you. You know, they see it. Dude, I see nothing but big things. Huge for you, bro.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy. I mean, like I try to take a step back every day and realize, like, dude, you're only 29, and people would die to be in the position you're in. Like the way that I have set myself up, but just by 7 years ago, maintaining relationships with general contractors or other plumbers, other trades, and just being like, hey man, like let's get coffee in a couple weeks, you know, and then. When I get to this point, I'm like, hey, I have my own license now. Like, if you ever need anything, let me know. Or, hey, let me take you out to lunch. Let me take you out to coffee. Shoot over a business card. Like, let's talk business. And for that, it's like I've got some pretty large partnerships that it's like, considering I just started, got the license in January, it's like.
So it's only been how many months? January, February, about 5-6 months. Coming June, right? And you've already landed some great jobs.
So we're working on a lot of things. Like I'm part of a Loop EV Chargers partner network. So I'm a certified Loop EV charger installer.
Okay.
That's a whole thing in itself. Have a partnership right now with Climate Tech. They do a lot of prevailing wage, renewables, stuff like that. And I've got a few others that I'm working on. I don't want to disclose yet just because it's not finalized. But we have a lot of big things happening.
That's great.
So the growth is going to be pretty good. I've got a lot of buddies that I've worked with over the years that I still keep in contact with, that once I'm ready, they'll be ready to help me out and jump ship. Because like I said earlier, the things that the way I want to construct the business, it's going to be different than how most, especially for contractors, how they're. I'm not going to come in to change the game. I'm going to do it indirectly, change the game. Because one point I really wanted to make being on here is the issue that the construction labor force is going to have that I see. By 10 years from now, by 2030, 2032, 2034, right now they say like 48%, 44% of the construction workforce is going to be of retirement age. They'll be 61 or older.
Oh, wow.
So that's an issue in itself, just that percentage, right?
Yes.
Because that's guys 25, 30, 35 years of experience. Like, that's a lot of knowledge.
Dropping off.
Yeah. And if they say it takes 5 years to get your journeyman's, right, because the apprenticeship's 5 years. And then it takes 10 years to master, so another 5 of being a journeyman. We're too late.
Oh, man.
We're too late.
And
that's only getting someone who's got 10 years of experience versus.
It's going to be a huge need.
And schools are starting to talk about it, but no one's talking about it nearly enough.
That's good.
And that's if we replace 1-to-1. Right now, we're replacing about 10-to-1. So every 10 that retire, You get one that's equivalent.
Wow. I read an interesting statistic because high schools nowadays tend to push people towards college. They don't push them really towards trade schools. There's some states in rural areas where they're starting to do that a little bit more.
Yeah.
When I went to high school, we had auto body, we had wood shop, we had auto mechanics, we had electrical. We had so many different things. We had HVAC, you know what I mean? And then we would learn, and then the teacher would lead us out, and we would actually do real projects in real time, you know what I mean?
Yep.
That's why you had all the jokes back in the 80s when I was in high school where the auto department would tear apart a vehicle and reassemble it in some teacher's classroom.
Yep.
Those things were legit, really happened. Yeah. And then they took all those away, and so now high school only pushes people to college. And the crazy thing is, most men, it ends up, don't ever finish or graduate. The statistics are crazy. And then they're trying to produce income. They have no skill or talent because nobody taught them how to do anything in construction.
Yep.
And they're feeling lost, and it's been crazy. And so I think you tapped into something that we do as high schools need to bring that stuff back, or make partnerships with engineers, or I should say contractors, who partner and come in and maybe do some lectures within the high schools, and those kids can learn and or apprentice at a certain point with them. Apprentice not in an official apprentice program, because that's a different type of scenario, but actually maybe get some work hours with them. And I always tell people, they always look for a college. I'll get a call and they go, hey, I want to go to a college that can teach me how to do all my construction stuff. I go, okay, you could pay $140,000 and go to college for 4 or 5 years, or you just go work for the contractor, get paid while you're learning, and then you come out with money. You're not in debt, and now you can go get your own contractor's license.
Yep.
Crazy,
exactly.
huh? So what do you think about that whole, because you said it, you said schools aren't really talking about it yet, right?
Yes. There are a few, I'll give a couple, there are some school districts that are starting to talk about it, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
I've had conversations where, even with some districts where they're kind of reluctant to let contractors in, like, hey, can I get a 30-minute assembly on a Friday, something like that. But that's something that, being part of the Chamber of Commerce now, that I kind of want to really bring to the forefront.
That's great.
Because not just for electrical, just for the construction industry as a whole. Because if we make a better and more competitive industry, everybody wins.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so much work. I can't do all the electrical work.
Yep.
Like a buddy of mine who does concrete, he can't do all the concrete work.
Yeah.
It's not humanly possible.
Yeah.
Like, we all can win. We all can go to the top.
Yep. Absolutely.
If there's the more competition, everyone has to be more honest.
And you're speaking my language, bro. People think that it's a win-lose scenario in the economy. It's always a win-win. Everybody can elevate. Man, that's good stuff.
It just circles back to what you say. Like, it's just changing the mindset of like, a lot of people have that me attitude, and it's like, it can be us, it can be everybody, and we all win,
Exactly.
It doesn't have to shut the doors on everyone.
When I begin to scale from being a solopreneur to an entrepreneur that owns multiple businesses and things like that, I learned the power of, and you keep saying this, partnership. There's so many people who are afraid of these partnerships. Mm-hmm. So talk to me a little bit about that. What do you mean that you've partnered on some things, and what gave you that idea?
So in culmination with the partnerships with like general contractors that I have and stuff like that, a buddy of mine, Daniel, who I mentioned earlier, has his own electrical contractor's license.
Okay.
He was my foreman, superintendent, and we decided, hey, you have your needs, I have mine. I have my ideas to structure business, you have yours. Mm-hmm. We can separate the two, but we can work side by side still. We can make partnerships.
Yep.
And when, hey, you're too busy, you send it to me. When I'm too busy, I shoot it over to you.
That's so good.
So we've partnered on a few endeavors already, and we have a lot more coming down the pipe. That is like, everything worked out. You work everything out in a contract, so everyone knows the deal.
Yep.
There's no one's hidden agenda, and it's a win-win. Like, he's part of that community too now, so he understands, I understand. Like, there's no confusion. No one's trying to backstab each other. It's
great.
It's all about the community at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Man, I love that. When I learned the power of partnership, that was a game changer. Because some of the companies I own, they're in partnerships with others, but now we're pulling resource, expertise, skill, talent, know-how, and just impacting the world. I mean, that's how it works.
Yeah.
And so it's crazy. Like you actually, in a sense, partnered with us because we rolled out on some properties that we bought. You invested, and then boom, now you're getting your return back here pretty quick because it's on the market, and things are going good, and the returns are amazing. And so I just thought, wow. And that's the kind of thing that we do together, right?
Yeah.
And then we just create wealth.
Yeah.
Talk to me about wealth in your, because you came to my Power to Gain Wealth, which is a free training seminar for people, and people have driven all the way from Nevada, from NorCal to come down here. They've gone 14 hours here. The Power to Gain Wealth. What to you, when you think of the word wealth, like everybody has a different definition. What is that for you?
So for me, like there's a difference between being like rich and wealth, right? Like to me, wealth is it's not only freedom, but it's future freedom.
Yes.
It's the solidarity, or not solidarity, but like the relaxation of I only have to worry about what's in front of me. I don't have to worry about 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now. That is done.
Yep.
And I can, knowing that you can retire comfortably. Like I remember a handful of years ago, they're saying you need $1 million to retire. Then it was $1 million's not enough. Then now it's $2 million. Then it's going to be $3 million, right?
Yeah.
That number's just going to keep growing. And people that just work dead end jobs, they're going to be, I'm never going to hit that. It's going to take me 25 years to hit that if I don't spend a penny. So it's all about just educating yourself. I mean, granted, I come from 2 bankers, so the financial industry to me isn't a scary place because I've heard a lot of the terminology before. But it's just educate yourself, read books, just read up on it. It's really not that daunting of a task once you sit down and invest the time. And I know the word investment is really scary for a lot of people because, I'm going to lose all my money. But once you learn that there's avenues that you can use where there's zero risk because you either you have your money or you have the asset that only appreciates, where did you lose? I'm confused. I'm very confused.
Simple.
But it's the biggest thing is learning that knowledge. So for me, wealth is having that future comfortability of knowing we're good. I don't have to think about it. It's done deal.
That's good.
And being able to do that at 29, like that's a blessing in itself. So like I know a couple people that are in their early 20s that I'm like, hey, I know this is going to sound weird for you because you're like, it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to go out and party, do it now.
Do it.
All of the guys that work under your schools, like they all can attest to it. So just future comfortability, the relaxation of knowing, hey, when I want to retire, I'm good. I don't have to worry about it. Like bills are covered, house will be paid. We can relax. We can enjoy time now.
Yeah, I love that you're so young. You've gotten all this opportunity and experience, and your head is definitely screwed on right. You're moving forward. I mean, kudos to your parents who raised you, bankers, and they've taught you, I'm sure, financial stuff. Because at 29 years old, most people are partying. They are living crazy lives, and you're building your future. And I don't see why you won't be easily in the millions in your 30s. You know what I mean? Because you're doing all the right steps, things that people don't do. You're getting into the room. You're meeting with other entrepreneurs. You're partnering with people to create wealth and not let anything fall through the cracks. Because if someone has a job, they're going to pass it to you. You take care of that job so that person always looks good. You make sure everybody's taking care of each other. You got yourself into community. You know that you have to grow to go. You got to continue to learn. I mean, these are all the things that you're saying, and it's blowing my mind because I've interviewed a lot of contractors, and half these things they're not doing. They may think them, but you're actually taking action. So talk to me about action in your life, because I notice you are taking a lot of action. What does that mean to you?
So growing up, like I said, parents were bankers. Dad was branch manager. I had a really good role. Then 2008 happened, financial crisis. 2010 comes and my dad goes, I quit my job at the bank. And I was like, I was doing homework and I was like, you did what? Hold on.
Oh man.
I was like, all right, well, you're smart. Like, there's a reason. Like, you're not just going to do it blindly. You have a plan B. So, okay, I trust you, Things happen. He gets sick. And then like things start to get a little worse financially and struggles happen. I mean, that's such as life. Everybody struggles, right? And then it comes to a point where it's like, okay, I kind of got to step up a little bit. Like mom and dad are struggling. Like they need help. And there's nothing wrong with that. So it got to a point where I was like, all right, I'm in high school and I saw how much college debt was. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not comfortable with what I want to do to spend $300,000, $400,000 in debt to be like, cool, I got a job that makes $35,000.
And you got all this debt.
For what?
Yeah.
And then seeing my dad, who had a great job, wore a suit and tie every day, you know, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, he was out of work because he was too expensive.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so what? I make I make money for a short time, then I get chopped for someone cheaper.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I need to be working with my hands because that's what's going to keep me working is my hands. If I provide a value, I'll never be done. I'll never be out of work.
Yeah.
So at a young age, being able to realize like, oh, I got to help out now. Then it was, all right, now I got 2 jobs while I'm in high school. Now I have 3 jobs working 7 days a week. And in high school, graduate high school, now I got 3 jobs full time, 7 days a week, sun up to sundown. Mom and dad need their cars repaired. Like, I'm taking care of car repairs.
Wow.
And I know that was like really hard on my parents. Like, wow, my kid is helping me. Like, that's, but it's like, that was just, it just, for me, it was, I didn't even think about it. It was like, we need it done. It's done.
So you just have the thought, it needs to be done. So you just go do it.
It's done.
You know, how do you get past, some people will struggle with like the feelings or the emotions or the things like, I don't feel like doing this. So how do you just push past that?
I think I get that a lot from my dad because he's really good at like wearing the mask, which that has its own pros and cons.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, sometimes that is a blessing to have, to be able to do that. I mean, it's not necessarily the healthiest for sure.
Yeah.
But
it's like, okay, I'm going to do this.
yeah, and then like, so sometimes I still like, I'll be open about it. I do struggle with like the ability to talk about things sometimes, or sometimes I throw the mask on and all of a sudden it's been 2 weeks and I didn't realize I even never took it off. So it's kind of, it is difficult to like take out the emotional part, but sometimes you just have to realize like, if I don't do this, what happens? And that unknown for me was scarier than just taking care of it and getting it done.
Have you always been a doer?
Yeah.
I see that because you said high school, you had what, 3 jobs?
So I got 2 jobs in high school, graduated, then I picked up a 3rd.
Okay. Most people are still living with their parents until they're like 30 now.
Yeah.
And they're still playing in the basement, playing video games and wearing their tight jeans, sipping coffee. And that's about the extent of all they do all day long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so you're cranking it out, working 3 jobs. Man, I admire that. I actually moved out while I was in high school, got my own apartment. I could only afford it an hour away from my high school because my dad and I weren't getting along. I just worked a couple jobs, went to high school, and I was the only kid driving myself to school, renting my own apartment. So there's a lot of doers, and those doers make things happen. And I'm mesmerized by that because I see that. You see a situation, it doesn't matter what you feel like, it has to get done. You're just going to get it done.
Yeah.
You took care of your parents, got your jobs, you pushed forward, you got your contractor's license. You said something that I want to tie into. Your dad basically got older, lost his job, right? Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because he has this education and people don't want to pay the high dollar amount because he's got all this experience. Mm-hmm. And we as a nation, we don't like discrimination. One of the things we deal with, obviously, that's an obvious wrong is discrimination against, race or anything like that. Well, duh, that's dumb. But the thing is one of the ones we neglect is ageism. Did you, and you probably know this because I've said it before, but I don't know if our audience knows, and that is once you turn 40, you're half as likely to get a job because everybody wants to get rid of the one that has all this high pay, bring in someone lower pay. Mm-hmm. They got all this energy. They're young. They're coming out, and they come out going, and they just keep cycling. And so the interesting thing is you started your business while you're young, so you'll never age out because it's your company. You don't have to worry about someone going, hey, thank you, Taylor, but, we got to let you go, and basically, why? Because you're making too much money, because you're killing it. You've been around for so many years. You don't have to ever worry about that. It's your company. You run it. That's why I am such an advocate for entrepreneurship. I like college. I think it's great. I don't think it's the answer. I think it's a portion of the answer. Mm-hmm. I think learning to be an entrepreneur and going and doing what the heck you want, and if you don't need a degree for it, and there's tons of things you don't need degrees for. Yeah. You don't need to go get a degree to be a realtor. You don't need a degree to be a tax professional. You don't need a degree to start an insurance company. I can have massive list of things. You just take a course, pass a state exam, boom, you got your own business, then get into a community so that people could buy from your business.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when you really sit down and like think about it, because I mean, like you said, college it's a cool option. It's good for the people that if you know what you want to do and you have a path, full send it.
I want my heart surgeon to have college degree.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want the PhD.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I want him to get, or her to get good grades, A's and B's. Hey, you got C- and D. I don't want you working on my heart.
Yeah,
get away.
You got your license from MacArthur Park in LA.
Yeah.
Like, well,
oh
good.
man, yeah, there you go, man. Oh, that's funny. No, so I see that. That is great. So, what are some advice that you would give to people that are getting out there? I mean, mostly our audience in this scenario are contractors. But it can be to anybody. Like if they're just getting out of high school, what would be your advice?
My advice would be to really think about what you want to do. Is that something you want to be behind a desk every day? Do you want to be in an office with air conditioning? Do you want to work with your hands? Do you want to do something that's half inside, half outside? And really start super broad and just start narrowing it down. Or like talk to other people in your circle, your friend group. Like, does one of them own a business? Talk to them about it. Are they the VP at a company? Like find people that are in higher roles. Ask them about it. Ask them how they got there. What steps they took. Research. Google. Hit up. I'm sure all my contact info will be in the description. Email me. Call me. Like talk to me. Take me out to lunch. Let's go get coffee.
Absolutely.
And I would love to pick somebody's brain.
And I love that. That's always what I've been saying. You need my advice, take me out to lunch. I eat lunch every day. You're going to get some free advice, and you're paying for it. And I love that you're picking up that motto. Did you already have that, or is that something that...
That's something I picked up from you.
Okay, awesome.
And it's just because...
That's awesome.
Like when I was at the Chamber of Commerce, and they were like, oh, they could do a little 30-second infomercial about your business, and the last thing they wanted you to include was an ask. So my ask was... if there's anybody that knows anyone that has the slightest interest in construction, send them my way.
Nice.
Because whether that's concrete, drywall, framing, another electrical contractor, plumbing, general contract, like come my way. Like I have people like other contractors in my circle. I can put you with people. Alan can put you with people. Or if you're just like, if you want to talk to a business owner direct and be like, hey, how scary was it? I'll tell you how scared I was every day. I wake up every morning and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm doing it? All right, we're doing it.
And like a warrior and a dragon, you slayed the fear like that dragon and you moved forward and took action and went forward. So TJS Electric, you're going to take on the world. I think you're going to be doing really well. You're making all the right moves. I'm glad that we're a part of this community together. It excites me that we're going to be doing some major big things together.
Absolutely.
And there's no reason why we can't be creating great wealth. And what I mean by wealth, I also mean money. You know, sometimes we're afraid to talk about that, but it's all the areas of life, but it's having and living a good life and enjoying, reaching the dreams that we want to have. And I think you're doing that. I look forward to just watching your journey and seeing you come into all the things. Some contractors, they come and they get their licenses, they bounce out, I don't see them again, but you're a part of our programs, and man, I'm excited to watch you grow and expand. So
appreciate it.
Thanks for being on our podcast, Contractor USA. I think this has been incredibly helpful for a lot of contractors across the U.S. are going to see this. And yes, all of TJS Electric, you need him. All of his information is going to be down in the description. So grab that, ladies and gentlemen, and